So most of you know how to bracket. We're just changing a few things, so we're going to start from the very beginning, so very basic things into the area that we did change. So if you look on your first page on your packet, I'm just going to go over each one of these steps first. The first one is probably the easiest to forget, is to always make sure your lens is set to AF, which means automatic focus. And you will see the switch on the side of your lens that has AF or MF. Auto versus manual, and always make sure it's on AF. It's right here.
Yep.
Everybody got that? Okay. Always make sure it's set to that, because sometimes in your camera bag you can switch it. And if you're taking your photos, they won't be focused. They might look in focus maybe even on your camera, but they won't be when you pull them up on the computer. So the second step is always make sure your camera is set to the A or AB function. I think all of us, that's the same as what we've done before with the bracketing, and what that does is it controls our shutter speed depending on which room we're in. So you'll see the number switch a lot. Does everyone know what I'm talking about?
A plus, the same thing?
Just talking about appearance or
AB.
Okay, B.
A or AB, depends on your camera. So you're always going to have it
Write
on
that on your
Yeah.
note sheet there, Philip.
Because it says A, you want to write AB.
A or AB, depends on your camera.
Not auto.
Not auto, just regular A. A is not for auto, A, there's actually something for A.
Alright, and then we're changing your ISO. Before we had it, I think it was at 400, Kelly?
Yes.
It was at 400. So we're changing it to 200. What ISO is if it was a film camera, it's the amount of grain that is on the film, but it reads the same as if it was digital. And so the higher the ISO number, the brighter the image, but the grainier. So you know those specs when you see a really grainy image, that's because the ISO is really high, and we don't like that. So we're going to down it to 200. So with that, it's going to be a little bit of a darker image. So the shutter speed, which is controlled through the AV, is going to be a little slower because it's compensating for that light. Does that make sense?
So you said the higher the number was what?
The brighter the image, but grainier. And the lower the number, the darker the image, but less grain.
So
So
when you
clearer.
hold down the 3 clicks, it's going to take a little longer.
So
So
you
the
need to
shutters.
make sure you guys stay real still when you guys are having it on the tripod. It's gonna take a little bit longer. So there's gonna be more room for error, but it's gonna look a lot better.
Can you
Yeah, who?
tell them how to get it to ISO?
Does anybody need help with
I
that?
don't think I
Yeah,
did.
so do I go to menu or?
Yeah, you hold that button down, and then you rotate the dial.
Oh, Tim knows that too?
Wow, I'm really impressed,
I
guys.
am too.
Because I,
Did you get yours?
You do what? You hold what button?
Hold the,
Sorry,
I think that was.
there's there's,
yeah, there you
I
go.
don't think that's
You
a,
got it, Jake?
I got it.
There you go.
Nice.
Can, it says the can.
I love
Oh,
that.
yeah, we have a can.
It's awesome.
I think we have an ISO button.
Makes me look good.
Oh, you
To
have
the
an
right.
ISO
I know
button.
what I'm doing.
Here.
That's the simplest thing.
Yeah.
I just do what Betty tells me on this button.
Yeah.
I have an actual ISO button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like yours, same thing.
It's gonna be
but
a little different than everyone's camera.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you
do
have
the
the
same
same
camera. If yours, it's the same thing, but
We just changed your ISO.
I got it.
We were
That's
filming
fine.
it.
I'm shooting this weekend, so.
Okay, so we are doing the automatic focus on your lens, the A or AV function. ISO should be 200. Everyone has those 3? Okay. The next thing is going to be your f-stop should be at 8.0. That's the same as before. F-stop, it's kind of the same concept of ISO. The higher the number though, the darker the image, but there's going to be no foreground, meaning, you know, when you see a picture and the subject's in focus and the background's all blurry, that's because the f-stop's really low.
And how do you change that?
There's a little dial right beside your little clicky button. Yep. Just
Okay, so I
Really
press
numbing
it.
it
All right.
down.
Yeah, just move that.
All right, I got it.
The little dial right beside the clicky button, you're just gonna scroll that and it's gonna change your, see it's going 7.1.
Easy.
So that's going to be really easy to just hit accidentally.
Yes.
Where's that?
The reason we're keeping it at 8 is because if we make it really low and make the image brighter, we're going to have whatever's in focus be in focus, and then something else is gonna be out of focus. So 8, higher the number, everything becomes really even. So the whole room's in focus. Then the smaller number, the subject becomes in focus, foreground becomes blurry. Which is pretty for like portraits and stuff, but not for houses.
So why not go up to higher than 8?
Because then your shutter speed's gonna be even slower than it already is, because it's compensating for that light again.
You want 8.
They all kind of work together to make sure
Too much of a
it
good thing.
reads correctly.
Right.
Does that make sense to everybody? That hasn't changed, but that's just a little information about f-stop.
Also, just make sure, kind of know where to look for it too.
For your bracket settings, this is one of the things that we are changing. Kind of ignore the negative 0.75, 1, 2.75, unless your camera has those settings. Yours might. So it was at -2, 0, +2. We're just bringing it in 1 on each end to -1, 0, and +1. We're doing this because the -2 is just too dark on photos.
If you just move your dial.
Does that make, when you guys turn on your camera to bracket,
So 1 and 1?
1
You
and
can
1.
actually do this setting right here.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, yours will actually allow it to change. Everyone else's typically doesn't. Yours is gonna be different as well.
Fancy. Yeah, so yours
So-
does it.
How do you
So
change it?
you wanna go with these, settings.
Oh, I see.
If you can.
Okay, so
Making
now
sure
when you
this
go
isn't
back
as
One.
to that screen
far
where it
to the
shows,
left as it is to the
take it
right.
back to the screen.
Negative
One and one.
0.75.
So
one
put
or
the
two.
center
You're
at
good,
1.
Miss Kenny. You're good.
Okay, now take this dial.
Oh,
One and
I see what
one.
you're saying.
There you
No,
go.
we usually go to 2.
So
There you
that'd
go.
be perfect.
That would be
That's-
negative 0.75.
Yeah.
We have to set it every time.
1.0?
Oh, you do?
Yes, if you have
Oh,
a
that's how you
Nikon,
change
it doesn't let you pick
Should've bought a good one.
the points, you just hit, bracketing 1. Does that make sense?
Years ago.
Yeah.
That one.
I think that's 1,
Yes.
minus 1.
Yep. I would
Should
go.
go in,
Just, you wanna be at 0 for the middle one, just put your other ones at 1.
1, 1.
And then, so then hit OK, set, and then you're actually good. So every time you turn your camera on, you have to do that for yours.
And
Yes, and this, for a lot of cameras, Canons, you turn it off, and you turn it back on, bracketing's off, so you have to go, so just leave your camera on the whole time you're shooting in the house.
Nikon's the
well,
same.
and then they have to reset it again for
Yes.
that one, the 1 and 1 thing.
The next big thing that we're changing, so we're only really changing 2 things. This one's really important. We're not gonna shoot in JPEG anymore, we're gonna shoot in RAW. Every camera has this setting, and you have to manually go and set it to RAW. But the thing is, when you turn your camera off and on, it'll stay in RAW. But if you're shooting like your family or something more leisurely, you're gonna wanna switch to JPEG, because not all programs recognize RAW. Because Kelly and I are gonna convert it back to JPEG. And the reason we're doing RAW is it's a larger format, but it gathers more information, so we're able to change the white balance a lot more. If you go to the second page, you can see before and afters for the top 2 examples, not the bottom one, of raw images and how we can easily change the white balance. You know, when bathrooms and kitchens are really yellow, and it looks really bad, we can take a lot of that yellow out easily with RAW, so it looks.
So where do they change it to RAW?
Yeah, so
Now
now,
go into that menu setting, and it should be in that first little camera function typically.
yeah, text quality.
It'll usually have like a little half circle type thing and an L next to it for the largest format. If you click on that, it'll give you other options. You just want the one that just says RAW.
See how the
So,
file size.
will it stay like that?
It will stay like that until you turn it. So keep in mind, if you take pictures outside of here and it's still on RAW, they're gonna be shot in RAW, which means you probably can't open them on your computer at
I
home
had
unless
2
you have
raw.
them shot.
I had
So
2
this
raw
means
You
settings.
should have RAW and then a RAW plus a large format, just do the RAW.
That means
Just
it's
do the raw.
yeah, so
So
it's
what
gonna-
should we shoot in on our
When you're
family?
shooting your
I would do
photos,
the regular L, the very first L one, that's large format. That's gonna give you, yeah, should be the very first option.
Because you
Either right on the
turn your
camera
on,
somewhere.
it'll stay
Change
on.
it real quick.
Yeah, I need to mark that down.
Because if you guys do it at home, you guys necessarily can't open it unless you have like some kind of raw reading program at home, which is like Photoshop or things like that.
So first there's menu function.
That's fine.
Because in quality.
Image quality, image quality. So we're doing that second camera.
Does that make sense? Everybody gets the
Not the
raw?
widest.
Format.
but you have to let it-
Cable Monday.
Don't do any of that. other
Steve, you
ones.
got to
Only takes us this, right?
LCD if they're off thing.
There you go. Hold on,
I'm ready for L.
And how did we find that?
That should have been under menu. Menu, the little.
As soon as you buy one, they're gonna make one of their line.
Image quality.
I'm gonna
Yeah, I haven't
this
read.
company, you're my boy.
What is the widest one? Do we know, I mean,
They probably know. What's the widest wide angle you get?
Depends on your camera format. Mine, because I have full frame, mine can't go as low as a 10 millimeter because it's taking up more information. So mine, what is mine? 24? 1740. So yours, I think the camera on 1024. So if you open it all the way to 10, it'll just be wider, but it depends on your camera.
what is that one? What's the lowest
But-
number it goes to on the outside
You
of the
should buy that
lens?
one.
So ideally,
A 10?
Yeah.
So it's a 10.
Yeah, there's on the last page of this packet, you'll see options. We only give you one option for the wide angle just because we know how it works and that it's wide. Because if you get too wide, it looks like a fisheye and it looks silly.
Starts curving, so I'm gonna
So just
It's not
wanna make-
saving.
It's not saving, then maybe yours, if you turn it off, you might have to. Oh,
You're also on.
Yeah. Okay.
And what'd you do?
Just,
Make sure you're okay. I forget my
yeah, just hit
I ordered mine
set.
online.
Oh, okay.
Your lens?
Okay.
Yeah, there's stuff in the back. We'll show you how to do it and what the best places are to order from.
Dude, spend some money.
You got a free camera.
Oh, yeah, I earned it.
So you don't want lamps on? I turn every light on. So you don't want lamps?
Not necessarily. We prefer natural light. But
Or overhead.
Yeah, just because it helps.
One overhead?
They're gonna talk
What's
about
that?
it.
Yeah, just the overhead.
Am I getting ahead of myself?
Pipe it in.
Stop reading it.
One in every crowd.
So the next one, this is the same, but if you don't have it on set to continuous shooting, where you see those three triangles over each other, you're gonna have to do shoot, 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 and you will move it a little bit if you do it that way. So make sure it's on continuous shooting, so it's that image of those three.
High speed.
Yep, you got it?
Sorry.
Let's get out of that. See, those three boxes, you're on.
Right here.
If you're not, you go to,
Little three little
you hit
boxes
this
beside
eye
that,
button
and
to
it's
go
gonna
over
give you the
this
options.
column.
Right now, you're in single shooting, just
That's
one
right
one.
here.
One
Release
frame.
mode,
You
you
can
would
tap,
have three
and it'll
boxes.
take 3 at a time.
Continuous shooting, so you're good.
Makes sense.
Do we have to change that every time?
No, it'll save it. That'll save it on there. But if you're doing it at home with just your kids, you may just want to do just a single shot.
But mine, I think if you turn it off and
And
then
then
you
it'll just keep shooting. I think if you're on regular, if you're not bracketing, it'll just take 3. But if you're on like just regular auto mode, it'll just keep shooting like a sports mode type thing.
Yeah, if we turned auto, then
Yeah,
it
that's
doesn't
it,
do
though.
3.
Right. Auto overrides any settings that you change in there.
Three pictures of Jake scratching his head.
So I want that to send you
Does
back
that
to
make
L.
sense?
If I'm sitting on it, it takes my bloodshot
It
out.
automatically changes it to L.
Kenny,
Do
do
you
you
want
have
to
it?
take you on a raw?
So you don't change.
It's a bit
That's right.
3.
I think I'll actually use my camera more.
I see. Like, images you taken?
Or just the image that I'm taking.
Yeah, it's a little
Sarah,
bit.
when you go to auto, the little green
You know, you can
square,
also.
it changes it back to L, not raw.
Oh, good.
So it goes, so you don't have to mess with
Everything is
those.
automatic.
Oh, good.
Did y'all hear that?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, so that's good to know.
When you say it again?
When you go from AV to back to the green, mine's a green square, like automatic,
Everybody's, yeah.
it changes the raw back to the L.
JPEG.
JPEG.
And it'll forget all your other settings,
Yeah.
and the ISO and stuff, so.
That's
But then when I go back to AV, it's back to raw.
Well, that's good. I
Mhm.
Perfect.
didn't know I did that.
Turn it off, turn it on, see if it still does it.
With the 3 images of the continuous shooting, if you continue to hold it down, it will take another one and you'll hear it. So hit the play button and make sure it's just 3. If it's 4, delete the last one because that's gonna mess up all your bracketing. We can fix it in the computer, but it takes a long time because we won't notice it until they're already bracketed.
And if you move on to the next room, it's gonna continue that set of 3 as well. So just kind of keep an eye on your playback status, make sure you kind of keep looking at it, make sure you're just taking 3, and they look great too.
Yeah, just listen for it.
And we've noticed a lot of people not really positioning themselves in the farthest corner of a room. It might be difficult to go to, and you might have to move the lamp and put the lamp on the ground so it's like not right in the frame. But go to the farthest corner of the room and have it set to the widest because we'll look at pictures, we're like, oh, this room's pretty big, but then they take it at a better angle, but they're not in the best spot for that angle, and it's not as good as this photo, even though it would have been way better to use. So move around, maneuver yourself, move things out of your way. It'll just make it look a lot better. This is probably, number 9 is probably the biggest challenge for people. I'll show you an example. When you focus on something that's really light in a room, like a window or just the light itself, it's going to compensate for all 3 of the images thinking the whole room is that light. So it's going to make everything black. But if you focus on a top corner in a room that's kind of a medium lighting but it's darker, it's going to read the room to that lighting. So everything's going to be visible and not black. I'll show you.
And you can see example on the next page too. But
Which picture?
the very bottom ones.
Two? The bottom one?
Mhm, the very bottom ones, you can see where you focus on the dark part and where you focus on the lighter part. It's just gonna make everything.
What were you focusing on, that door back there, or?
Yes, the darkest part would be like that door and that shadow back there. Then the other one is gonna be kind of more like that chair rail, kind of near the window.
You get a focus.
Yes. And if you set your you can set your focus too. Like you can hold it halfway down, you're gonna hear a beep and it's gonna lock that focus. So then you can recenter your camera to where you want it to be, centered and framed, and then you can take the picture, release the shutter, push it all the way down and release it.
I
Okay,
didn't know that
so
you could move it.
can everyone see my camera?
Yep.
This is me focusing on this corner of this vent, so it's darker than this light, and these are the 3 photos, so you can see everything still. Like that's the brightest one, you can see everything. If I'm focusing on the light, you don't see any of that light. Focus on the dark.
And those are not easy to edit if you guys do that, because you're gonna lose a lot of information, you're getting a lot of grain, it's just the quality of it's gonna be completely gone.
The biggest thing's not lights, it's windows.
Yes.
Well, the easiest thing to focus on a room, but it's the brightest part, so the whole room's gonna be dark. So don't and you can find a point, lock it, like I'm gonna lock it on this sprinkler, but move your setting and take it. But it's taking it based on what you just focused on for that lighting, does that make sense?
And you have to be careful too, a lot of people are gonna have their focusing on like that, kind of moving focus where it just kind of picks up whatever it can kind of find. Sometimes it's gonna keep focusing on that window or that light. You can always keep recentering it and moving it, or just even set it on like a middle focus and you can find exactly what you wanna focus.
And that's the little square.
The little square, sometimes it'll dance around in your viewfinder, sometimes it's just locked in the middle depending on what setting you have it on. Personal preference.
We have ours set to center viewfinder.
I think it's easier, but whatever you're comfortable with.
So then it's just whatever you pointed at.
Exactly.
You
Once in a
literally-
while, I'll take a picture and all 3 will just blown completely out. Did I focus on something?
Probably something
Too
too
dark?
dark. Lanes were so, it's funny because lanes were so dark before, and then yesterday they were really bright. So I think he like really took it to heart, the dark part, and found like the blackest thing in the room. So, which is actually easier to edit than dark though.
Ask him to make sure, because it's my camera use.
Mm-hmm.
You have it here.
So maybe not the
Top
darkest,
car.
but something
Let's check
darker.
it for you.
Yeah, a corner. A corner is always really good in a room.
Because sometimes, someone will have renovated the house and you go to one of the spare bedrooms and it's just all this color of beige.
Mhm.
And you'll take the picture and my camera's going because it can't
Yes.
find anything to
Trying to
focus
focus.
on. So I should find something that it would and then position the camera back into the corner.
Yes.
Or I stick my finger out and have it
I would
focus on my
be
finger.
careful.
Oh, you do your,
Yeah.
you do, I haven't thought about putting my finger for it.
Well,
Yeah, I
it's
do.
hard because you gotta focus everything.
She's saying,
Well,
I would be careful doing that because if you do it right here, your focus is going to be right here, and everything else is going to be a little bit blurrier. So if you can find a little bit of contrast, like the light band or like the window frame or like a door frame,
Go
something
to
like
Right,
that.
if I point right here, I cannot get a focus.
Right, there's no
Right.
contrast, it's
Right.
black color. So if
So
you
if I-
move it to the
Door frame?
Yeah, the door frame right
Try the
there.
door
Or
frame.
the corner, right?
Like you
So I lock in right here,
Yeah,
Yep.
move.
then I rotate over to here
And take it.
and then bracket.
Try
Just
it.
push all the way down.
Try it.
Push
Try
all the way
the
down, focus right
baseboard. A
here.
lot of times baseboard's easier to focus
So I go over
on.
here and go,
It's okay as long as you're focusing on like,
Yeah.
you don't want to focus like right here for this room right here.
I a lot of times
So you're
do
gonna get- This is going to
baseboards
be in focus and everything
Yeah,
else can have a
because
little bit
it
of blur
gives
to
a little
it. So you wanna
contrast
kind
where
of
you can
focus
leave
in
some
the middle
picture
or
at
the
some
far
point.
10
end.
feet is gonna be okay.
Yeah, anything in that.
Especially
size, I
when
would
it's
say.
empty. I mean, it's like,
So if we go here,
It's tough.
it's gonna make the room blurry if we try to take it from there.
Right, I wouldn't focus here and then take it, yeah. Do you want
Go
to
to
focus
a
on
corner.
Yeah, I do.
Corner's the
What?
best.
See, there's- I love it.
You ever put it on manual?
Real boy.
This is auto, it's auto focusing.
Manual, you're gonna have to move your lens and find.
This is a
Manual
very good.
We can white mount.
No, that's good, that's what I always wrap it, if you ever take a picture at home, always wrap it around, if you ever drop it, you still got it.
Oh, the house, oh,
Yeah,
See?
You're fine.
yeah.
I don't see
Gosh,
like
I
that
just put
on
the
there.
second strap on there.
That's good.
Good thing you got it on there. Does that make sense for everybody for what to focus on for lighting? That's
Yeah.
the biggest
Awesome.
problem for people, is we'll get pictures back and all three are dark, but you can see the window. And that photo, you can't really edit it.
And you want the white balance to be on auto?
Do you want it to be?
Yes, because
fancy
the-
focus, or do you want it to be on the middle?
Before we were
Towards the aim.
dabbling with the idea of you guys
Yeah,
changing it
right in the
manually
middle,
in your
So we look
camera,
at it, just kind of have a
but
red dot
doing
right
it
in
in
the
raw,
just make sure
we'll
that's
just
in
change
focus.
the white balance for you.
Oh, okay.
Just because I think because when you go outside, you have to switch it, and I can see people forgetting, because the lighting, if it's fluorescent, it'll be really blue when you go outside.
Yes.
So we'll just do the white balance, so that's what raw, that's the reason we're doing raw. Has
So
nothing
you
about.
guys will do that.
Mhm.
We'll help eliminate a lot of those yellow bathrooms and yellow kitchens and help kind of neutralize those colors a little bit.
Yeah, and so back to what you were saying, Kenny, for the lighting, natural lighting's the best. If it's a vacant brand new house with a lot of windows, that's a lot easier to do, like what I did for East Nashville. Like, I don't have any of the lights on, and it's just that really clean white light. But that's really hard to do in a lot of houses that don't have good natural lighting. So try not to have lamps on because they produce the most yellow, and also they mess with your lighting balance of that room, because that corner has a lamp but this one doesn't.
Mm.
So if you have overhead, it's pretty even.
And windows too.
yeah.
If you can, when you have a window right there and it's got blinds, open up those blinds, even pull them all the way up, let as much natural light in. It's gonna make it look a lot cleaner, a lot better. It's gonna have a lot more true color in it too, versus those yellow hues just from lamps and just from fluorescence above you as well. So open up on those blinds if you can, make sure.
What about bathrooms that don't have any windows?
Yeah, that's what the white balance. is
Yeah,
gonna
we'll
be.
fix
Turn the
those.
fan on.
Go ahead, turn the light on.
Yeah, make sure the light. Yeah,
Yeah.
have the light on in a bathroom.
Or in
But
the
there's no
basement
windows.
if it's dark.
Right, lights are fine, it's just try not to have every single, really yellow lamp on. And use as much natural as you can.
And in good kitchens, you know what they have what's it called? The lights under the cabinets. That always looks really yellow, so I wouldn't even turn those on.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I mean, it looks pretty
In
when you're
person?
there,
Yeah.
but then in pictures, it's like it blows out because it might be really pretty tile or something, but you're not gonna see it. Because we can go in and dodge that area a lot easier than burning it and making that light.
Sometimes you
go
get that
away.
reflection too off of the granite and you lose all information right there as well. So y'all getting is a big white spot versus the detail in that granite, so.
And for bathrooms, if there is a window in there, don't even turn the light on, because it will read it and it'll, so the shutter speed will still be really slow, but it'll look so much better than if there is a window and you have the light on, even with the white balance fixing. But if there's not, then we can mess with it. Does that make sense?
Let's say it one more
So
time.
window, no light, no window light.
Yeah, only, but take both too, like
Yeah,
we'll pick
see
the
what
best
looks better.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Just
if this is
do
the
both.
only window
That's
we
the best
have,
thing
we'll
to
need
do.
some other
Yeah.
light in here. But if it's like a smaller room like this and the sun's shining right in and it's completely bright, then you don't need an overhead light either. So it's just kind of a case by case, use your best judgment. When in doubt, take two, or we can always go from there. It's better to do that than send you back out because the picture's too dark or doesn't work
Would you guys be willing to help them with their first house pictures? Like, have them come in and say,
This is good,
where
this
did
is
you
not.
focus?
Yeah.
To help them learn, because, I know after I take them and I send them in.
Jay even did 2 houses yesterday, and he came in, and the second one was so much better than the first one. 'Cause the first one, he focused a lot on bright spots, so they were dark. Not all of them, and he took a lot of the same angle, and you could tell he would switch his focus. But his second house, there were hardly any dark ones. He goes, yeah, that was the second. Because I didn't know which one he did first, because there were 2 different cards. So I was like, this one's a lot better. He goes, yeah, I did that second. So that always really helps. Another big thing is don't move the tripod until the camera is done taking photos. Because you can see, because they bracket the 3 is layering, you'll see a trash can and you see a little bit of another trash can right next to it, but it's one trash can.
And it gives that blur to it, which we can't correct when it's layered on top of each other. So
Tripods, when we're cheap, when you press down on it, it
you
moves.
should
Get a heavy one.
Get a heavier duty one, and a little bit more if you can. Get a one that's gonna be decent, that's not gonna rock every time the wind blows or anything like that.
Mine's like 30 pounds. Mine's heavy.
Cause I'll just do one finger. I don't like
I can get one.
Okay. And then the last thing before Kelly goes on to the photos, just if you hit the play button, just go through and make sure they look okay. If you see one that's super dark in one room, go take it again, or one that's really blown out or something, go take it again and just focus on something different, because it's gonna look completely different and it will help us out a lot. So play back through them a little bit.
And if for some reason you see, you know, you took a fourth one of something, make sure you either take 2 more pictures to get that whole set out, so we can just trash them, or just delete that one. Just make sure you kind of listen for those 3, you go 4, take 2 more, and then move on. Just makes our lives a lot easier.
Let Philip, take a picture, Philip. Listen really close and you guys count how many times you hear the
Okay, let's
shudder.
come off.
That'll help. Just listen real close.
You gotta sit on bright thing.
No matter what it is, just take it. Anything.
What was
Do it with the viewfinder.
Yeah.
Do it with the viewfinder,
Put
not
your eye
that.
up to it.
Put your eye, yeah.
Well, he was aiming at that black wall, and
Yeah,
it wasn't
see,
finding anything
It
to
wasn't
focus
focusing
on.
on.
Focus on
something.
Scott,
Just
come
focus
on.
on Scott.
Right,
Let's
Hey.
go. With your eye.
See how long that
How many
last
did you
shudder
count?
is? It's
That
gonna
was
Three.
3.
Yeah.
Did you hear the last click though?
Release.
Open.
Yeah, it's 2 clicks per photo. It's closing, opening, closing.
Do it again, listen again. Count them.
What does that mean?
Just put it on Scott's face and take a
Put it on
picture.
something to focus.
So you're actually hearing 6.
He's,
You're doing 2 per one.
you're letting loose a little bit too soon.
All right, try again.
Feel yourself move. But that was the last one that stayed open that
No,
long.
that was
It's
great.
almost impossible freehand.
Yeah, you could not do freehand, don't even try.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake did actually.
But
Somebody, I think Steve tried.
Have you done it freehand?
Jake did it actually
that's my
recently.
tripod at home, and I was like, let's go with it. I was in like Ashland City or something.
Counters work well.
Counters?
Counters
It
work
against the
well.
wall.
Right.
So on this,
My camera, when it does those 3 clicks, when you let go of it, you hear it click again if you have, I think, the screen open, so it sounds like 4. And I think Van borrowed my camera one time and had them all screwed up, because he heard the 4th one, and he just had them all, he had 2 of one of the other, and none of the pictures had 3, I don't think.
yeah, I think that's, what- yeah, like you said, the live view, so you could see it on your screen when you're taking it, I think it makes that noise, but if you use the viewfinder, which is what I do, when you look through it, it won't make that
It's gonna be
noise.
easier to focus too, I think, if you use your viewfinder versus the,
Does yours play them back after you clicked them?
I think it'll play the last one back. I don't think it'll flash like yours
Doesn't
does.
matter.
Yeah, so you'll have to actually go back. And the order it should take, of course, is gonna be a regular, a dark, and a light. So you'll see those kind of backwards when you're playing them.
Mine switches it up.
Really?
Yeah, but if
Oh, it
tips
does,
is
yeah.
3 for some
I can't see through my view.
Is it because it's on live view? Take it off, well, you can't do both.
Oh, okay. You know, I've been taking pictures for like 4 years.
Out of bracket. Alright guys,
Scary.
if you look
I
at
know.
this right here with the pictures, we can kind of show you some examples of what we've done. First 2 are gonna be with white balance on the left-hand side, and then not white balanced on the right-hand side. So you can really see a difference of the yellows and what the hues we're talking about, what we're trying to eliminate. So by shooting in RAW, we can do those things and help you guys white balance and get a lot cleaner looking pictures and get that stuff out. And then of course, that bottom picture is what we focused on, you know, focusing on a bright spot, focusing on a dark spot, what the difference is, how much that'll make a difference in your pictures too. So that dark, scary hallway doesn't look as bad on the left-hand side. And on the last page, this is kind of showing examples of why we're doing what we do, what we're trying to get our pictures to look like. That left-hand column is bracketed, and we edit them too. It's gonna take a lot of time for us to go through and edit them and kind of up contrast and make them look as good as they can. On the right-hand side just is bracketing only, so if you're a client, which ones would your house, which ones want yours to look like? Obviously the ones on the, yeah.
Miss, the windows, you can't see out the windows as well, like it comes going out.
It's because where you focus, if you focus on that bright spot of the room, you're gonna probably focus on a window, that's what's gonna be compensated in that light, so that's what's gonna make it actually a lot better. If you do, it's gonna make the whole picture a lot darker too.
So in this empty room at the bottom, should you focus on the fireplace?
Yeah, that's great.
I
Or
think
that
I-
little corner.
I think I focused on the corner, is what I did.
So
The
she
right
would have
corner.
done the fireplace, we might have seen out the windows? Is So-
No, no.
It would have been even more brown.
It'd been worse.
Especially when you can look out the windows, especially during when it's spring and summer, and see the grass and green and leaves.
Right, but are you trying to
and
sell the outside, trying to sell the house? You know?
You're gonna have to, it's a give and take. If
Right.
you can either see the outside or have the definition inside, so we're
Yeah.
choosing now.
Because we tried, we tried to
We
do
tried for
both.
hours.
And we could get the outside focus, but the inside was so dark, and it was like, the outside looks great, but if you look on like Showcase and stuff, their windows are blown out. I think that's what they're doing primarily, is they're really focusing on the inside.
And the details inside.
And the
That's who
last
West Haven
page,
usually
the
uses.
bracket,
Which is their picture.
the bracket only, that's with all the changes we just did. The difference that you see has nothing to do with you guys. That is Kelly and I. So
Yes.
it's really time consuming.
Oh, thanks.
No, well, I'm saying,
But we've gotta do our part for y'all to be able to do
Right.
yes, oh, exactly. Oh,
We can't do this unless they look, you do the stuff correctly too. We can't work with grainy pictures. A lot of times you see those ones with the black and they've got like purple dots in them. We can't do anything with those. They're just the way it's taken. So if you guys do what you guys, you know, in the sheet, you guys get these pictures and we can make them look like this. So,
yeah, so the right side is what you are taking, and that's good,
yes,
is what I'm saying.
that's perfect.
I just don't want you to be like, my photo and my camera doesn't look like the left side.
That's correct.
And this house is for sale, if anybody has a buyer.
Don't wanna hear it?
For 79.
Okay, I have a bad habit of leaving the fan on because I think that looks kind of cool, but that's probably a bad idea, right? Just-
I don't think it really matters.
I think it looks
honestly.
cool. I used to turn
It
it on.
just shows that it's moving.
Yeah.
I just, if there's a cat
I
or
like it.
something. Cat.
No
Don't
cats.
have, because the animal has like two heads, and it's like.
I'm like walking across the picture.
Fan is, or outside if there's a car, even though they're probably gonna be blown out, but I always wait for a car to pass by, but I don't, every time
That's
I,
the only thing I see a problem with sometimes, is because
Yeah.
you get like weird movements of them, but you can't do anything if the wind's blowing, so.
I don't think fans really
Flags.
matter. Lane had a fire in a fireplace in his house yesterday, and it didn't look weird. So there's, it just made it look
Like
brighter.
extra flame.
Extra flamey.
Agree, yes.
Extra hot.